You know, right now, in this very moment, you have a choice. You can continue to carry yesterday on your back like a heavy burden, or you can set it down and step into the miracle of now. The past is over. It's done. It's finished. And yet so many of us are living our lives as though it's still happening. We replay the old movies in our minds over and over again. We rehearse conversations that happened years ago. We hold on to pain that has no business being in our today. And in doing so, we miss the only moment that truly matters, the only moment where life actually exists. And that's right here, right now. The truth is, you cannot change what happened yesterday. You cannot go back and undo anything. You cannot rewrite history. But what you can do is stop letting yesterday dictate your today. What you can do is recognize that every single moment is a fresh start, a new beginning, an opportunity to choose differently. And that choice begins with understanding something very simple yet profound. God exists only in this present moment. The divine, the infinite intelligence, the source of all creation, it's not in your past. It's not waiting for you in your future. It's right here, right now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this moment of awareness. When you're dwelling on the past, you're essentially saying to the universe, I prefer to live in a place where God cannot reach me. Because God, the source, the infinite power that created you and sustains you, it operates only in the present moment. It's always now with the divine. There is no yesterday in the realm of spirit. There is no tomorrow. There is only this eternal now. And when you align yourself with that truth, when you bring your consciousness into this present moment, you align yourself with the power that creates worlds. Think about it for a moment. When you're stuck in the past, what are you really doing? You're taking your precious life energy, your attention, your focus, and you're investing it in something that no longer exists. It's like trying to water a plant that died last season. It's like trying to warm yourself with yesterday's sunshine. The past is gone. It's a memory. It's a thought. It has no reality except the reality you give it by thinking about it. And every moment you spend thinking about what was is a moment you're not available for what is. Now, I'm not saying that we should pretend the past didn't happen. I'm not suggesting we develop amnesia or ignore the lessons we've learned. What I'm saying is that we must stop living there. We must stop allowing our past experiences to define our present reality. Because when you do that, you're not really living. You're existing in a kind of trance, a hypnotic state, where you're continuously recreating the same patterns, the same pain, the same limitations that you experienced before. The ego loves the past. It thrives on it. The ego needs the past to maintain its identity. It says, this is who I am because of what happened to me. I am wounded because of this. I am angry because of that. I am unworthy because of what they said. I am broken because of what they did. And as long as you identify with those stories, as long as you believe that your past defines you, you remain trapped in a prison of your own making. But here's the beautiful truth. You are not your past. You are not your history. You are not the sum total of everything that has happened to you. You are a spiritual being having a human experience, and your essence, your true nature, is completely untouched by anything that has ever happened in the physical world. When you were created in the image and likeness of God. That means you were created perfect, whole, complete. And that perfection, that wholeness, that completeness, it's still there within you right now. It hasn't gone anywhere. It can't be destroyed. It can't be diminished. It can only be covered up by your identification with the ego, with the mind, with the stories you tell yourself about who you are based on your past experiences. So how do we break free from this trap? How do we leave the past behind and step into the present moment where God resides? It begins with awareness. It begins with catching yourself when you're drifting into the past. Notice when your mind starts replaying old scenes. Notice when you're rehashing old arguments, reliving old hurts, dwelling on old failures. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't criticize yourself for it. Just become aware that it's happening. Because awareness is the first step toward transformation. You cannot change what you're not aware of. Once you become aware that you're living in the past, you can make a conscious choice to return to the present moment. And how do you do that? You do it by bringing your attention to what's here right now. Feel your breath moving in and out of your body. Notice the sensations in your physical form. Listen to the sounds around you. Look at what's in front of you with fresh eyes. as if you're seeing it for the first time. This is how you anchor yourself in the now. This is how you come back to the only place where life actually happens. You see, the present moment is a miracle. It's the intersection of the temporal and the eternal. It's where the physical world meets the spiritual realm. It's where your human self connects with your divine nature. And when you're fully present, when you're completely here, something magical happens. You begin to feel a sense of peace that cannot be explained by your circumstances. You begin to experience a joy that doesn't depend on anything external. You begin to tap into a power and intelligence that far exceeds anything your logical mind could conceive. This is what it means to be with God in the present moment. It's not about following rituals or reciting prayers, although those things can certainly help. It's about being so fully present, so completely here, that you recognize the divine presence that permeates everything. It's about understanding that God is not some distant entity sitting on a throne in the sky judging you and keeping score. God is the very life force that animates your body. God is the awareness that allows you to know you exist. God is the love that binds all creation together. And all of that is available to you right now, in this moment, when you choose to be present. But the mind doesn't want to stay in the present moment. The mind wants to wander. It wants to go back to the past to analyze and figure things out. It wants to jump into the future to plan and worry and anticipate. And that's okay. That's what minds do. The key is not to identify with those thoughts. The key is to recognize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes the thoughts. You are the consciousness that watches the mind doing its thing. And when you understand that, you gain the power to choose which thoughts you give your attention to and which ones you simply let pass by, like clouds in the sky. Every spiritual tradition teaches this same fundamental truth in different ways. Stay present. Be here now. This moment is all there is. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Eternity is now. These aren't just pretty phrases or philosophical concepts. They're pointing to the most practical, most powerful tool you have for transforming your life. Because when you're present, when you're truly here, you cannot suffer from the past. You cannot be anxious about the future. You can only be at peace with what is. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what about the pain? What about the trauma? What about the things that were done to me that were truly terrible and unjust? And I want to acknowledge that, yes, sometimes we experience things in this life that are genuinely difficult and painful. I'm not minimizing that. I'm not saying you should just forget about it and pretend it didn't happen. What I'm saying is that holding on to that pain, continuing to identify with it, allowing it to define you in the present moment, that's what keeps you stuck. That's what prevents you from healing. That's what blocks you from receiving the infinite goodness that wants to flow into your life right now. Forgiveness is a big part of leaving the past behind. And forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened. It doesn't mean saying it was okay. It means releasing the emotional charge, letting go of the resentment, freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that anger and hurt around with you everywhere you go. When you forgive, you're not doing it for the other person, you're doing it for yourself. You're giving yourself permission to be free. You're choosing peace over pain, love over fear, presence over the past. I've worked with thousands of people over the years who were stuck in their past, and I can tell you that the moment they made the decision to forgive, to let go, to release the past, everything in their life began to shift. It's like they suddenly had access to an energy and vitality that had been locked away. Opportunities began to appear. Relationships began to heal. Health began to improve. Not because anything external changed, but because they changed. They changed their relationship to their past. They stopped being victims of their history and became creators of their present moment reality. And that's what you are, you know. You're a creator. You're creating your experience of life, moment by moment, through the thoughts you think, the beliefs you hold, the stories you tell yourself. And if your thoughts are all about the past, if your beliefs are based on old experiences, if your stories are all about what was done to you and what went wrong and why you are the way you are because of your history, then you're creating more of the same. You're keeping yourself trapped in a cycle of repetition. But when you shift your attention to the present moment, when you align yourself with the divine presence that exists right here, right now, you open yourself to infinite possibilities. You become a channel for miracles. You allow grace to flow through you. You tap into a wisdom and guidance that knows exactly what you need and exactly how to get you where you want to go. But it can only happen now. It can only happen when you're present. The future is nothing more than a series of present moments that haven't happened yet, and when those moments arrive, they will be now. So if you're always projecting yourself into the future, always planning and scheming and trying to control how things will unfold, you miss the only time when you actually have any power to create anything, and that's right now. Your power is in the present. Your ability to choose, to act, to shift your energy, to align with your highest self, all of that exists only in this moment. So what does it look like practically to live this way? It means waking up each morning and making a conscious decision not to carry yesterday's baggage into today. It means recognizing when your mind wants to drift into past grievances or future anxieties, and gently, lovingly bringing it back to what's happening right now. It means practicing presence throughout your day, washing the dishes with full attention, eating your meal with awareness, listening to someone speak without planning what you're going to say next, walking and actually feeling your feet on the ground, breathing and knowing you're breathing. These simple acts of presence may seem insignificant, but they're actually the most significant things you can do. Because each time you choose to be present, you're strengthening your connection to the divine. You're building your capacity to stay in the now. You're training your mind to serve you rather than letting it run wild and drag you wherever it wants to go. And here's something beautiful that happens when you commit to living this way. You begin to see that the present moment is always perfect, exactly as it is. Now that doesn't mean everything is pleasant. It doesn't mean there are no challenges or difficulties. What it means is that whatever is happening right now is exactly what needs to be happening for your highest growth and evolution. When you trust that, when you accept that, you stop resisting reality. And when you stop resisting reality, you stop creating suffering for yourself. Suffering comes from wanting things to be different than they are. Suffering comes from arguing with reality. Suffering comes from saying, this shouldn't be happening, that shouldn't have happened. Things should be different. But when you're aligned with the present moment, when you're at peace with what is, you realize that everything is unfolding perfectly. You may not understand it with your logical mind. You may not see the bigger picture. But you trust that there's a divine intelligence orchestrating everything, and that intelligence is infinitely wiser than your ego could ever be. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you don't take action or make changes. It means you act from a place of presence and peace rather than from fear and resistance. You do what needs to be done without the internal drama and turmoil. You respond to life rather than react to it. And there's a huge difference between those two. When you react, you're operating from old conditioning, old patterns, past programming. When you respond, you're acting from your highest self, from your connection to the divine, from the wisdom that exists in this present moment. God speaks to us in the present moment. Intuition, inspiration, creative ideas, solutions to problems, guidance about which way to go. All of that comes when we're present. It doesn't come when we're lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. It comes in the stillness, in the silence, in the space between our thoughts. And that's why practices like meditation are so powerful. They train us to access that stillness, to hear that quiet voice of wisdom, to feel that gentle guidance that's always available to us. But you don't need to sit in meditation for hours to access the present moment. You can do it anywhere, anytime. Waiting in line at the store, present. Stuck in traffic, present. Having a difficult conversation, present. Facing a challenge, present. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And eventually, presence becomes your default state rather than something you have to work at. When you live this way, you become a light to others. People feel your peace. They sense your groundedness. They're drawn to your energy because it's so different from the frenetic, anxious energy that most people carry. You don't have to preach to them or try to convince them of anything. Your presence alone teaches. Your way of being in the world inspires others to question their own relationship to the past and the future, and consider the possibility of living more fully in the now. Children are naturally present. Watch a child at play, and you'll see total absorption in the moment. They're not thinking about what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. They're fully engaged with whatever is right in front of them, and that's why children are so joyful, so creative, so full of wonder. As we grow older, we lose that natural presence. We get conditioned by society to constantly think, analyze, plan, worry. We learn to live in our heads instead of in our direct experience of life. But we can reclaim that childlike presence. We can return to that state of simple being. It's our natural state. It's who we really are underneath all the mental noise. One of the biggest obstacles to living in the present moment is the belief that we need to hold on to the past in order to learn from it. We think that if we let go of our painful memories, we'll somehow forget the lessons and repeat the same mistakes. But that's not how it works. The lessons are already learned. They're integrated into your being. You don't need to keep replaying the painful experiences to remember what you learned from them. In fact, constantly revisiting the pain actually prevents you from fully embodying the wisdom you gained. Think of it like this. When you learn to ride a bicycle, at first you have to think about every movement. You're concentrating, trying not to fall, very aware of every action. But once you've learned, once the skill is integrated, you just ride. You don't need to consciously remember every time you fell or struggled. The wisdom is in your body, in your being. It's the same with life lessons. Once you've truly learned something, it becomes part of you. You don't need to keep the painful memory alive to access the wisdom. Another common concern is that if we let go of the past, we'll somehow dishonor those who have passed or the experiences we've shared with others. But releasing your attachment to the past doesn't mean you can't cherish beautiful memories or honor those you've loved. It means you don't live there. It means you don't define yourself by what was. You can appreciate the past without being imprisoned by it. You can remember without being trapped in remembrance. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your consciousness in this moment. If your consciousness is cluttered with past regrets and future worries, you cannot experience the fullness of life that's available to you right now. But when you clean up your consciousness, when you clear out the mental clutter and bring all of your awareness to this moment, you create space for grace to enter. You create space for miracles. You create space for the divine to work through you and as you. God is not a concept to be understood. God is a presence to be experienced. And that experience is only available now. You can read all the books, study all the philosophies, memorize all the scriptures, but until you actually experience the divine presence in this moment, it's all just intellectual knowledge. It's information, not transformation. The transformation happens when you shift from thinking about God to being with God. And being with God means being fully present. There's a beautiful paradox here that's worth noting. When you let go of the past and future and fully inhabit the present moment, you actually become timeless. You step out of the stream of time and touch eternity. You realize that your true self, your essence, has never been born and will never die. It exists in an eternal now that was never created and can never be destroyed. This realization brings a peace that surpasses all understanding because you know, not intellectually but experientially, that you are so much more than this temporary physical form, so much more than this collection of memories and experiences. Your identification with the past is really just a case of mistaken identity. You've mistaken the content of your consciousness for consciousness itself. You've mistaken the experiences you've had for the experiencer. You've mistaken the roles you've played for the actor. But when you're truly present, you can observe the difference. You can see that there's awareness watching all of it, consciousness experiencing all of it, presence holding all of it. And that awareness, that consciousness, that presence, that's who you really are. That's your connection to the infinite. That's God expressing as you. Every moment you spend dwelling on the past is a moment you're rejecting the gift that life is offering you right now. And life is always offering you a gift. It's offering you this breath. It's offering you this sensation. It's offering you this opportunity to choose love over fear, peace over anxiety, presence over absence. But you have to be here to receive it. You have to be awake to recognize it. You have to be present to accept it. The ego will tell you that being present is boring, that nothing exciting is happening right now, that you need to think about the past to understand yourself or plan for the future to feel secure. But these are lies. These are the ego's strategies to keep you trapped in time, to keep you separated from your true nature, to keep you from experiencing the divine presence that's always here. The ego cannot survive in the present moment because the ego is nothing but a collection of thoughts about the past and future. When you're truly present, the ego dissolves, and that's what it fears most. So the ego will create drama. It will manufacture problems. It will obsess over past hurts and future fears. It will do anything to pull you out of the present moment. But once you see these tactics for what they are, once you recognize the ego's games, you're no longer fooled. You can smile at the mind's attempts to distract you and simply return to the now again and again and again, as many times as necessary, without judgment, without frustration, just a gentle return to presence. This practice of returning to the present moment is like building a muscle. At first it feels difficult. Your mind wanders constantly. You forget to be present. You get caught up in stories about the past. But the more you practice, the stronger your presence becomes. And eventually, something shifts. Presence becomes your natural state. You catch yourself sooner when you drift away. You spend more time in the now than in the realm of thought. And your life transforms in ways you never could have imagined. Relationships improve because you're actually present with the people in your life. Work becomes more fulfilling because you're fully engaged with what you're doing. Creativity flows because you're tapped into the source of all inspiration. Health improves because stress diminishes and your body's natural healing mechanisms can function optimally. Abundance increases because you're aligned with the infinite supply that exists in the present moment. Everything gets better, not because you're trying to make it better, but because you're finally allowing life to be what it is, which is always seeking to express its fullness through you. The past cannot touch you unless you invite it into your now. The future cannot frighten you unless you project your consciousness into it. But right now, in this moment, you are safe. You are whole. You are exactly where you need to be. Even if you're facing challenges, even if things feel difficult, the present moment itself is always okay. It's your thoughts about the present moment, your judgments and interpretations that cause the suffering. But the moment itself, just as it is perfect. When you understand this, you stop fighting with life. You stop trying to control everything. You stop demanding that reality conform to your expectations. Instead, you surrender. Not a weak surrender, not a giving up, but a powerful surrender to what is. And in that surrender, you find a strength you never knew you had. You find a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. You find a joy that bubbles up from within regardless of what's happening around you. This is what it means to be with God in the present moment. It's not a religious concept, although all religions point to it in their own way. It's a direct experience of your true nature. It's the realization that you are not separate from the divine. You are not disconnected from the source. You are not alone in this universe. You are intimately connected to everything and everyone through the consciousness that permeates all of creation. And that consciousness is most accessible, most tangible, most real when you're fully present. So I'm inviting you right now to make a commitment to yourself, a commitment to practice presence, a commitment to leave the past behind, not by denying it or pretending it didn't happen, but by no longer allowing it to dictate your present experience. A commitment to stop projecting yourself into an imaginary future and instead put your creative energy into this moment, which is the only moment where anything can actually be created. Start small. Start with just a few moments of conscious presence each day. Maybe it's taking 3 deep breaths when you first wake up and really feeling the air moving in and out of your body. Maybe it's eating one meal without any distractions, just tasting the food and appreciating the nourishment. Maybe it's taking a short walk and actually noticing your surroundings instead of being lost in thought. These small practices will build. They'll accumulate. They'll transform your consciousness over time. And be patient with yourself. You've spent years, maybe decades, living primarily in your thoughts about the past and future. It's a deeply ingrained habit. It's not going to change overnight. But every moment you catch yourself and return to presence is a victory. Every time you choose now over then, you're strengthening your connection to the divine. Every instance of conscious awareness is a step toward freedom. Remember, you are not trying to achieve some special state. You're not trying to become enlightened or reach some far-off goal. You're simply returning to your natural state of presence. You're remembering who you truly are. You're coming home to yourself. And home is always here, always now, always available. The past is a story. The future is a story. But this moment, right now, this is real, this is alive. This is where God is waiting to meet you, not waiting in time, but present in the eternal now. And when you show up fully for this moment, when you bring all of your awareness to what is, you will find that everything you've been searching for, everything you've been longing for, it's all here. It always has been. You just couldn't see it because you were looking everywhere except the one place it actually exists, which is right here, right now, in this precious, eternal, infinitely creative present moment. Your life is happening now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And the quality of your life, the depth of your experience, the peace in your heart, the love you feel, the joy you express, it all depends on your ability to be present for it. So let go of what was. Stop worrying about what might be and give yourself fully to what is. This is where life happens. This is where healing occurs. This is where transformation takes place. This is where you meet the divine. Right here, right now, in this eternal, blessed, sacred, present moment.
You know, right now, at this very moment, there's something working in your favor that you can't even see. There's a force, an intelligence, a divine presence that knows you better than you know yourself. And this presence has plans for you that are so much bigger, so much grander, so much more magnificent than anything your limited human mind could ever conceive. You see, we spend so much of our lives trying to control everything, trying to figure it all out, trying to make things happen according to our timeline, according to our plan. But what if I told you that your plan is just a tiny fraction of what's actually possible for you? Think about it for a moment. When you were 5 years old, could you have planned the life you're living right now? Could you have predicted the people you'd meet, the experiences you'd have, the lessons you'd learn? Of course not. And yet here you are. You made it through every single difficult day of your life so far. You survived every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment when you thought you couldn't go on. Something brought you through all of that. Something guided you, even when you felt completely lost. That something is the divine intelligence of the universe. Some call it God, some call it Source, some call it the Tao, some call it Universal Mind. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that this intelligence is real, it's present, and it's always working on your behalf. Always. Even when things seem to be falling apart, they're actually falling into place. Even when doors are closing, better doors are opening. Even when you're experiencing what you think is a setback, you're actually being set up for something better. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be saying, but you don't understand my situation. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how bad things are. And you're right. I don't know your specific circumstances, but I do know this. Whatever you're facing right now is not the end of your story. It's not even close. It's just a chapter. It's just a moment in time. And this moment, difficult as it may be, is preparing you for something greater. You see, we have this tendency to attach ourselves to outcomes. We say, I need this job, or I need this relationship, or I need this amount of money by this date. And when things don't work out the way we planned, we fall apart. We think the universe has abandoned us. We think we've failed. We think life is unfair. But what if that job wasn't right for you? What if that relationship was actually blocking you from meeting the person you're truly meant to be with? What if that financial situation you're in is teaching you something essential that you need to learn before you can handle the abundance that's coming your way? The truth is, you don't know what you don't know. Your perspective is limited. Your vision is clouded by your fears, your past experiences, your conditioning, your beliefs about what's possible. But the divine mind that created you, that breathed life into you, that set your heart beating and your lungs breathing without you ever having to think about it, this mind knows everything. It sees the whole picture. It knows every person you need to meet, every experience you need to have, every lesson you need to learn, and it's orchestrating all of it perfectly. Let me tell you something that might change your life if you really hear it. You are not here by accident. You didn't just randomly show up on this planet. You were called here. You were chosen. You have a purpose that only you can fulfill. There are people who need to hear what you have to say, who need to receive what you have to give, who need to be touched by your unique presence. But you can't fulfill that purpose if you're constantly trying to force your own limited plans on the universe. Think about the caterpillar. When it goes into that cocoon, does it know it's going to become a butterfly? Does it understand the transformation that's about to take place? No. From the caterpillar's perspective, it's probably terrifying. Everything it knew is breaking down. Its entire world is dissolving. If that caterpillar could think like we do, it would probably be panicking, thinking, this is the end. Everything is falling apart. But we know better, don't we? We know that the caterpillar isn't dying. It's transforming. It's becoming something far more beautiful, far more free, far more magnificent than it could have ever been as a caterpillar. That's what's happening in your life right now. When things break down, when your plans fall apart, when everything you thought was solid turns to dust, you're not ending. You're transforming. You're being prepared for flight. But you have to trust the process. You have to have faith that there's a bigger plan at work. Now, faith isn't about being naive or passive. It's not about sitting back and doing nothing while you wait for miracles to fall from the sky. Faith is about taking inspired action while trusting that you're being guided. It's about doing your part while knowing that the universe is doing its part. It's about planting seeds and then trusting that the right conditions will come together to make those seeds grow. You don't worry about the seed you plant in the ground, do you? You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust. You trust that the soil has nutrients. You trust that the rain will come. You trust that the sun will shine. You trust that the invisible process of growth is happening beneath the surface, even though you can't see it. That's the kind of trust you need to have in your own life. When you align yourself with this divine intelligence, when you say, okay, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to show up fully, I'm going to give my all, but I'm also going to trust that there's a bigger plan. Something miraculous happens. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. Opportunities come that you never could have created on your own. People show up at exactly the right moment with exactly what you need. Coincidences happen so frequently that you realize they're not coincidences at all. They're the universe responding to your faith. But here's the key. You have to get out of your own way. You have to stop trying to control every little detail. You have to stop forcing things to happen according to your timeline. You have to stop micromanaging the universe. Because when you're constantly pushing, striving, forcing, controlling, you're actually blocking the flow. You're like someone standing in a river trying to push the water in the direction they think it should go, not realizing that if they would just relax and float, the river would carry them exactly where they need to be. This doesn't mean you don't have goals. This doesn't mean you don't take action. This doesn't mean you don't work hard. Of course you do all of those things. But you do them from a place of inspiration rather than desperation. You do them from a place of trust rather than fear. You do them knowing that your job is to show up and give your best, but the results are up to something much bigger than you. Think about the greatest accomplishments in your life so far. Think about the times when things worked out better than you could have planned. Think about the lucky breaks, the chance meetings, the unexpected opportunities. Were those really just random? Or was there something guiding you, orchestrating events, bringing the right people and circumstances together? When you look back honestly, you'll see that there's been a pattern of grace in your life all along. You've been guided even when you didn't realize it. You've been protected even when you felt vulnerable. You've been loved even when you felt alone. And that same force that's been with you all along is still with you now. It hasn't abandoned you. It hasn't forgotten about you. It's working behind the scenes, arranging things, preparing the way, setting up circumstances that will blow your mind when they finally come together. But you have to be patient. You have to trust the timing. You have to understand that delays are not denials. Sometimes the universe says not yet because you're not ready yet. Sometimes the universe says not that because it has something better in mind. Sometimes the universe says not there because it's directing you to a better place. And sometimes the universe says wait because the timing isn't right, because other pieces need to fall into place first, because you need to grow a little more, learn a little more, become a little more before you're ready to receive what's coming. When you truly understand this, when you really get it at a level that's not just intellectual but experiential, everything changes. Your anxiety decreases because you're not trying to control the uncontrollable anymore. Your peace increases because you know you're being taken care of. Your joy expands because you start to see the beauty in the process rather than just focusing on the outcome. You start to notice the miracles that are happening every single day. You start to appreciate the gift of your breath, the gift of your life, the gift of another day to be here on this beautiful planet. You start to see that you're surrounded by abundance, not scarcity. You start to realize that you're supported, not alone. You start to understand that you're loved beyond measure by the very force that created you. And when you live from this place of trust, when you live from this place of alignment with the divine plan, you become a magnet for good things. You become a channel for miracles. You become an instrument of the divine will, not because you're special or chosen in a way that others aren't, but because you've removed the blocks that were keeping you separate from the flow of grace that's available to everyone. You see, most people live their entire lives in resistance. They resist what is. They resist change. They resist the natural flow of life. They think they know better than the universe how things should unfold. And all that resistance creates struggle, creates suffering, creates a sense of being stuck. But when you surrender, when you let go, when you say, I trust that there's a better plan than my plan, you open yourself up to receive in ways you never could before. Now, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive or fatalistic. It doesn't mean you don't have preferences or desires. Surrender means letting go of your attachment to how things should be and accepting what is, knowing that what is actually perfect for your growth right now. Surrender means doing your best and then releasing the results. Surrender means trusting that you're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, experiencing exactly what you need to experience. When you live this way, something beautiful happens. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You start to understand that life is happening for you. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every closed door is redirecting you to an open one. Every disappointment is protecting you from something that wasn't right for you anyway. Think about the times in your life when something you wanted desperately didn't work out. Think about the job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the opportunity that fell through. At the time, it probably felt terrible. You probably thought it was the worst thing that could happen. But now, looking back, can you see how it all worked out? Can you see how you were actually being redirected towards something better? Can you see how that disappointment was actually divine protection? That's what's happening in your life right now. Even if you can't see it yet, even if you're in the middle of the struggle, even if you're in the darkness, even if you feel lost and confused, there's a plan unfolding. There's a purpose to what you're going through. You're not being punished. You're not being tested. You're being prepared. You're being refined. You're being shaped into the person you need to become to fulfill your highest purpose. And your highest purpose is so much bigger than you think it is. It's not just about making money, although abundance is your birthright. It's not just about being happy, although joy is your natural state. It's not just about being successful, although you're meant to thrive. Your highest purpose is about being a vessel for the divine to express itself through you. It's about letting the love, the wisdom, the creativity, the power that created you flow through you and touch the world. But you can't be that vessel if you're all clogged up with fear, doubt, worry, and control. You can't be that channel if you're constantly second-guessing, constantly questioning, constantly trying to manipulate outcomes. You have to clear yourself out. You have to create space. You have to get quiet enough to hear the whispers of divine guidance that are always available to you. How do you do that? You start by changing your thoughts. You start by recognizing that your thoughts are not facts. Your thoughts are just mental habits, most of which you inherited from other people. Your thoughts about what's possible, what you deserve, what you can have, what you can do, most of those thoughts aren't even yours. They're just programs running in your mind that you've never questioned. But you can change those programs. You can choose new thoughts. You can decide to think in alignment with the truth of who you really are rather than the lies you've been told. And the truth is that you are an infinite spiritual being having a temporary human experience. The truth is that you are connected to the source of all creation. The truth is that the same power that grows the flowers, that moves the planets, that sustains the entire universe is flowing through you right now. When you align your thoughts with that truth, everything shifts. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, you think, I am an expression of the divine and I am more than enough. Instead of thinking, I don't have enough, you think the universe is infinitely abundant and I am open to receiving. Instead of thinking things never work out for me, you think everything is always working out for my highest good. These aren't just positive affirmations. These are statements of truth. These are recognitions of the reality that exists beyond your conditioned mind. And when you train yourself to think in alignment with this higher truth, your entire experience of life changes. Not because life changes, but because you change. Not because the circumstances shift, but because your perception shifts. And when your perception shifts, you start to see opportunities where you used to see obstacles. You start to see possibilities where you used to see limitations. You start to see grace where you used to see randomness. You start to see the hand of the divine in everything, orchestrating, guiding, supporting, loving you through every moment of your life. This is what it means to live in alignment with the divine plan. It means waking up every day and saying, I don't know what today will bring, but I trust that whatever happens is exactly what needs to happen. I trust that I'm being guided. I trust that I'm being supported. I trust that there's a plan that's better than any plan I could come up with on my own. And then you show up. You do your work. You love the people in your life. You take care of your responsibilities. You pursue your goals and dreams, but you do all of it with a light touch. You do all of it without grasping. You do all of it knowing that the real power is not in your effort, but in your alignment. The real magic is not in what you do, but in who you're being. And when you're being someone who trusts, someone who has faith, someone who knows they're part of something bigger, that's when miracles start to happen. You know, there's a story about a man who was caught in a flood. The water was rising, and he climbed up on his roof. A rescue boat came by, and the people in the boat said, "Get in, we'll save you." But the man said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." The water kept rising. A helicopter came and dropped a ladder. The pilot said, "Grab the ladder, we'll pull you up." But the man said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Eventually the man drowned. When he got to heaven, he said to God, why didn't you save me? I had faith in you. And God said, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. What more did you want? This story illustrates something important. The divine plan doesn't always look the way you expect it to look. Help doesn't always come in the form you think it should come in. Opportunities don't always present themselves in obvious ways. Sometimes the answer to your prayer is disguised as a challenge. Sometimes the help you need comes through a difficult person or a frustrating situation. Sometimes the door you need to walk through looks scary or uncertain or not quite right. That's why you need discernment. That's why you need to stay awake and aware. That's why you need to pay attention to the signs and signals that are all around you. The universe is always communicating with you. It's speaking through coincidences, through patterns, through the people you meet, through the books that fall into your hands, through the songs you hear, through the feelings in your body, through the whispers in your heart. But you have to be present to receive these messages. You have to be conscious and aware. You can't be so caught up in your worries, your fears, your endless mental chatter that you miss the guidance that's being offered. You have to create moments of stillness in your day. You have to take time to get quiet, to breathe, to listen to the wisdom that's always available to you when you tune in. This is not some mystical, complicated practice. It's simple. It's natural. It's your birthright. All you have to do is stop, be still, and pay attention. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. Feel the life force moving through your body. Notice the thoughts that arise without getting caught up in them. And in that space between your thoughts, you'll find clarity, you'll find peace, you'll find guidance, you'll find the knowing that comes from a place deeper than your thinking mind. And that knowing will guide you better than any plan you could make. That knowing will lead you to places you never would have thought to go. That knowing will introduce you to people you never would have met. That knowing will open doors you never knew existed. Because that knowing is connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe, and that intelligence has a much better perspective than your limited human mind. So the question is not whether there's a better plan for you than the one you have for yourself. The question is, are you willing to trust it? Are you willing to let go of your need to control everything? Are you willing to surrender your limited vision for a vision that's unlimited? Are you willing to say yes to the adventure of not knowing exactly how things will unfold, but trusting that they'll unfold perfectly? This is the invitation that's being extended to you right now in this moment, not later, not when you get your life together, not when you figure everything out, right now. Because right now is all you ever have. This present moment is where life is happening. This present moment is where the divine plan is unfolding. This present moment is where you have the power to choose faith over fear, trust over worry, surrender over control. And when you make that choice, everything begins to shift. Not necessarily in your outer circumstances right away, although often that happens too, but definitely in your inner experience. You feel lighter, you feel freer, you feel more peaceful, you feel connected to something larger than yourself. You feel held, supported, loved by a force that will never leave you, that will never abandon you, that will never give up on you, no matter how many times you give up on yourself. Because that force is not separate from you. It's not some old man in the sky judging you, keeping score, waiting for you to mess up. That force is the very essence of who you are. It's the life breathing you right now. It's the intelligence that's causing your cells to regenerate, your food to digest, your wounds to heal. It's the love that exists at the core of your being, whether you're aware of it or not. And that love has a plan for you. Not a plan that requires you to be perfect. Not a plan that requires you to have it all figured out. Not a plan that requires you to never make mistakes or never struggle or never doubt. A plan that includes all of that, that uses all of that, that transforms all of that into something beautiful. A plan that takes your wounds and turns them into wisdom. A plan that takes your pain and turns it into purpose. A plan that takes your struggles and turns them into strength. You don't have to earn this plan. You don't have to qualify for it. You don't have to prove you're worthy of it. You're already worthy. You were worthy the moment you were born. You were worthy before you were born. Your worthiness is not based on what you do or what you achieve or what you accumulate. Your worthiness is inherent in the fact that you exist. The universe doesn't make mistakes. You are here because you're meant to be here. You have value because you're alive. And the divine plan for your life honors that value. It sees your potential even when you can't see it yourself. It knows what you're capable of even when you doubt yourself. It believes in you even when you don't believe in yourself. and it's constantly arranging circumstances, providing opportunities, opening doors, sending helpers, creating synchronicities to guide you toward the fulfillment of your highest potential. But you have to be willing to walk through those doors when they open. You have to be willing to take the opportunities when they present themselves. You have to be willing to follow the guidance even when it doesn't make logical sense. You have to be willing to trust that the universe knows what it's doing even when you don't. And that takes courage. It takes courage to let go of control. It takes courage to trust when you can't see the whole picture. It takes courage to keep faith when everything around you is falling apart. It takes courage to believe in a better future when your present circumstances are difficult. But that courage is available to you. It's inside you right now. It's part of your divine nature. You've demonstrated courage so many times already in your life. Every time you got back up after being knocked down. Every time you kept going when you wanted to quit. Every time you loved again after being hurt. Every time you tried again after failing. That was courage. And that same courage that brought you this far will take you where you need to go. But you have to activate it. You have to call on it. You have to recognize that fear is just a feeling, not a fact. Fear is just your ego trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. Fear is just your conditioning trying to protect you by keeping you in your comfort zone. But your comfort zone is a prison if you stay in it too long. Growth requires discomfort. Evolution requires uncertainty. Transformation requires letting go of what's familiar and stepping into what's unknown. And that's exactly what the divine plan asks of you. It asks you to step out of your small, limited, fearful sense of self and into your true, expansive, powerful nature. It asks you to stop playing small and start playing big. It asks you to stop hiding your light and start letting it shine. It asks you to stop doubting your worth and start claiming your birthright. Your birthright is abundance, not scarcity. Your birthright is joy, not suffering. Your birthright is peace, not anxiety. Your birthright is love, not fear. Your birthright is freedom, not limitation. And the divine plan is constantly trying to give you your birthright. But you keep refusing it because you don't think you deserve it. You don't think you're ready for it. You don't think it's possible for you. But it is possible. It's not only possible, it's inevitable if you align yourself with the flow of divine will. Because divine will is not opposed to your happiness. Divine will is not opposed to your success. Divine will is not opposed to your fulfillment. Divine will wants you to thrive because you're an expression of the divine, and the divine wants to express itself fully through you. Think about it. Does an apple tree struggle to produce apples? Does it worry about whether it's good enough to bear fruit? Does it doubt its ability to fulfill its purpose? No. It just naturally, effortlessly produces apples because that's its nature. And it's your nature to produce the fruits of your unique gifts and talents. It's your nature to express creativity, love, wisdom, joy, abundance. You don't have to force it. You don't have to struggle for it. You just have to allow it. Allowing is the key. Allowing means getting out of your own way. Allowing means releasing resistance. Allowing means saying yes to life instead of no. Allowing means opening your hands instead of clenching your fists. Allowing means relaxing into the flow instead of fighting against the current. And when you allow, when you truly allow, the divine plan unfolds through you in ways that will astonish you. Things happen that you could never have made happen through your own effort. Doors open that you could never have opened on your own. People show up who change the entire trajectory of your life. Opportunities arise that are perfectly suited to your unique gifts and purpose. This is not fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is the natural result of aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. This is what happens when you stop resisting and start allowing. This is what happens when you stop fighting and start flowing. This is what happens when you stop trying to impose your will on life and start cooperating with the divine will. And the beautiful thing is, it's never too late to start. It doesn't matter how old you are, how many mistakes you've made, how far off track you think you've gotten. This moment right now is a fresh start. This moment is a new beginning. This moment is an opportunity to choose differently, to think differently, to be differently. You can let go of the past right now. You can release the regrets, the resentments, the what-ifs and should-haves. None of that matters anymore. All that matters is now. All that matters is this breath. All that matters is the choice you're making in this moment to either trust the divine plan or continue trying to force your own plan. And if you choose trust, if you choose faith, if you choose surrender, then you're opening yourself to miracles. You're opening yourself to grace. You're opening yourself to possibilities that don't exist in the limited world of your ego, but do exist in the unlimited realm of spirit. Because spirit sees what ego cannot see. Spirit knows what ego cannot know. Spirit can do what ego cannot do. And when you align yourself with Spirit, when you say, not my will, but thy will, when you truly surrender to the divine plan, you become an instrument of miracles. You become a conduit for grace. You become a living example of what's possible when a human being trusts the divine intelligence that created them. So trust. Trust even when you don't understand. Trust even when you can't see the way forward. Trust even when everything looks like it's going wrong, because it's not going wrong. It's going exactly as it needs to go for your highest good and the highest good of all. The divine plan is always a plan of love, always. Even when it doesn't feel like it, even when it looks like chaos or confusion or crisis, even then, love is at work. Love is orchestrating. Love is guiding. Love is preparing you for something greater than you can currently conceive. And that's the beautiful mystery of it all. You don't have to know what comes next. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to trust that the one who made you, the one who knows you completely, the one who loves you unconditionally, has a plan that's better than any plan you could ever make for yourself. And when you really get that, when you really trust that, when you really live that, your whole life becomes an adventure of grace, a journey of miracles, an unfolding of divine perfection. So let go, surrender, trust. And watch what happens when you stop trying to control everything and start allowing the divine intelligence to guide you. Watch how doors open. Watch how opportunities appear. Watch how people show up. Watch how circumstances align. Watch how your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. Because that's what happens when you align with the divine plan. That's what happens when you trust that God has a better plan for you than you have for yourself. That's what happens when you stop trying to row your own boat and start letting the current of divine will carry you to shores you never even knew existed. This is your invitation. This is your opportunity. This is your moment to choose faith over fear, trust over control, surrender over struggle. The divine plan is waiting. The divine plan is ready. The divine plan is perfect. All you have to do is say yes.
There is a sacred rhythm to this universe, a pulse, a silent intelligence that governs all things. You see it in the tides that rise without prompting, in the stars that burn without striving, in the seasons that shift not with force but with flow. And just as the ocean never questions how it shall return to shore, and the moon never asks how it shall reflect the sun, you, beloved soul, were never meant to bear the burden of how. You were not created to micromanage miracles. You were never asked to figure it all out. The oak tree never asks how it will grow. Its only task is to allow the seed to surrender to soil. And so must you let the infinite intelligence that breathed you into existence carry the unfolding of your path. The ego will tell you that you must control, plan, strategize, hustle, outmaneuver life itself. It shouts from the rooftops, you must know the way, you must master the how. But the soul, oh, the soul whispers something softer, something holier. The soul says, trust, release, let the universe handle the how. When you surrender your insistence on controlling every detail, you make space for the divine to work miracles in dimensions your mind could never comprehend. You create room for synchronicity, for alignment, for grace. And grace is not something you earn, it is something you allow. Consider the caterpillar. It does not construct blueprints for wings. It does not draft flight plans. It simply follows the ancient call within and enters the stillness of the cocoon. It dissolves into formlessness, into the unknown, and in that sacred surrender, it becomes something new. It does not handle the how. It trusts the process. So must you trust. Let go of the tight grip. Let go of the timelines. Let go of the compulsive need to make sense of the mystery. You were never meant to carry the how. You were meant to carry the faith. And this is not weakness, it is wisdom. There is a humility that comes when you realize the same force that spins galaxies is already orchestrating your life. There is peace in knowing you are not the architect of every detail. You are the vessel through which divine order flows. Your job is not to force doors open. Your job is to knock and listen, to dream and allow, to show up and surrender. You were born of stardust and breathed into form by the same source that crafted oceans and galaxies. Do you not think that this source knows your needs? Do you not feel that it holds your heart with more tenderness than any plan your mind could make? Stop trying to map out the mountain when the path reveals itself one step at a time. Stop measuring the distance between here and there when the journey was never about distance, it was about depth. The unfolding was never linear, it was sacred. Designed to bring you home to the present moment where all power lives. When you let go of how, you remember who. You are not the planner. You are the participant. You are not the conductor. You are the music. You are not the architect of the mystery. You are the dance. And the more you release your grip, the more life begins to surprise you with blessings you didn't anticipate and pathways you never imagined. Because the universe is not limited by your logic. It speaks in dreams and symbols in perfect divine disorder that leads you exactly where you are meant to go. So often we pray and then panic. We ask for signs and then try to script them. But the sacred does not respond to anxiety. It responds to surrender. The flowers do not bloom by pushing through the soil with force. They bloom by allowing the light to reach them. You do not heal by understanding every step of healing. You heal by allowing what is to be enough. And that means sometimes not knowing how the money will come, how the relationship will unfold, how the dream will be fulfilled, but choosing to believe anyway, because belief is the soil where miracles grow, faith is the water, and surrender is the sunlight. When you let the universe handle the how, your energy shifts from desperation to devotion, from striving to receiving, from noise to knowing. And in that shift, life rearranges. You become the lighthouse, not the lifeboat. You stop chasing and start attracting. Not through manipulation, but through magnetism. Not because you grasped harder, but because you released deeper. This is the secret. The moment you stop demanding how, the universe whispers now. Now is where the door opens. Now is where the peace returns. Now is where your breath becomes a prayer, your presence becomes power, and your path begins to shimmer with unseen hands guiding every step. You were never alone in this. You were never abandoned. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was a detour into greater alignment. Every unanswered prayer was the universe's way of saying, I have something better. But you must stop resisting the not knowing. The ego hates uncertainty. It fears the mystery. But the soul is born of mystery. It thrives in the unknown. It sings in the silence between answers. And you, my beloved, are a soul, not a role. You are not here to decode the cosmos. You are here to dissolve into it, to trust that your heartbeat is part of a rhythm older than time, to surrender your fear at the altar of divine intelligence and say, I do not know how, but I am willing. I do not see the way, but I will walk in trust. I do not control the outcome, but I choose to believe in something higher, something wiser, something infinitely loving. And in that choice, your life begins to shimmer with the miraculous. The right people show up. The perfect opportunities align. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with their frequency by releasing the fear that you had to make it all happen alone. You were never meant to carry that weight. You are not Atlas. You are the sky. And the sky never asks how it will hold the stars. It simply holds. So be the sky. Let the universe hold the how. And you hold the vision. Let the how belong to the infinite. Let the timing belong to the divine. Let the outcome belong to source. And you beautiful, powerful infinite, you let yourself be held. And it shall be done. Let the universe handle the how. Let the universe handle the how. Let the universe handle the how. And now that you've surrendered the weight of how, something begins to stir quietly, subtly, like the first golden light before dawn, a remembering, not of a new concept, but of an ancient truth that has always been within you, waiting beneath the noise of control and effort. That truth whispers not of doing, but of being, not of conquering life, but of cooperating with its sacred rhythm. It is here, in this surrendered space, that the miracle of your own existence reveals itself not as a task to fulfill, but as a gift to receive. The breath you take now was not engineered by worry. The beating of your heart was not planned by logic. They are the silent poetry of life saying, I've got you. When you step back from the mechanics of control, you begin to feel this soft current of grace pulling you always toward your higher self. There is no need to chart the wind when you are the sail in the sea. Life was never a problem to solve. It is a mystery to experience. And the more you lean into this, the more you realize the doors you tried to force open were never locked. They were waiting for your stillness to find the key within. That key is not control. It is alignment. It is presence. It is the quiet power of saying yes to what is without needing to redesign it. What if your unanswered questions are not punishments, but but pauses placed with precision to awaken a deeper listening? What if the delays are divine pauses, soft hands holding you back, not to deny you, but to guide you towards something greater than your plans could contain? The caterpillar doesn't resist the stillness of the cocoon because something in its nature trusts the silence. So must you trust the space between intention and manifestation. That space is sacred. It is where the unseen does its holy work, where your energy, your vision, and the great intelligence of the universe weave a tapestry not visible to your eyes, but palpable to your spirit. It is where the seeds of your desire are whispered to the soil of the infinite and watered by your surrender. And if you find yourself in the in-between, in that mysterious silent place where nothing seems to move, bless it. Do not rush it. Do not judge it. That pause is not empty. It is full of divine activity. Just as winter conceals the promise of spring beneath the frozen ground, so too does your stillness conceal miracles not yet ready for the light. Allow them to ripen. You are not waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for you to stop doubting, to stop questioning the process, to stop interrupting grace with impatience. Because when you try to outpace the divine, you outrun the very blessings that are being arranged for you. Let your trust become stronger than your timeline. Let your peace be greater than your plan. And watch how the universe begins to move, not because you demanded, but because you aligned, not with strain, but with surrender. You were never meant to be the puppet master. You are the instrument. And when you are in tune with the music of the infinite, life plays through you effortlessly. You don't need to orchestrate the symphony. You only need to stay open and attuned to the melody that is always playing beneath the surface. Let your prayer no longer be, show me how, but instead, make me ready, make me available. Let me become the kind of vessel through which the miracle can pour, because the miracle is never outside of you. It is never delayed. It is only waiting for the space you create when you release the demand to know. And in that release, in that sacred breath of surrender, the dance begins. Without steps, without structure, just flow, just love, just the radiant unfolding of a life lived not from will but from wonder. And wonder, dear soul, is your birthright. So here you are, open now in a way you may not have known before, not striving, not solving, but simply softening. And in this softening, something shifts, not just within you, but around you. The energy you bring to the world becomes a quiet magnetism, not through assertion, but through attunement. Life no longer feels like a mountain to climb, but a river to join, and you no longer, the swimmer gasping for control, become the current itself. This is the grace of surrender, not a falling apart, but a falling in, into truth, into stillness, into the sacred embrace of what already island. You begin to notice that what you once called uncertainty is actually spaciousness. What you once named confusion is merely the absence of ego's voice. In that silence, the soul speaks not in sentences, but in sensations, not in answers, but in alignment. And the message is always the same: you are not lost. You are being guided, not by maps, but by resonance, not by blueprints, but by the quiet tug of your own heart when it remembers the way home. And the way home is never paved with guarantees. It is lit by the lamp of faith carried not in the hand, but in the breath. Faith not as belief in outcomes, but as trust in essence. The kind of trust that says, even this has meaning. The kind that blesses the detour, that smiles at the delay, that walks the foggy path with eyes closed and heart wide open. Because what you truly seek is never on the other side of certainty, it is on the other side of surrender. And so, when you feel the urge to control rising like a storm, place your hand gently on your heart and whisper to yourself, let the wind move me, because the wind knows. The wind that shaped mountains and carved valleys carries your dreams too, not with pressure but with purpose, not with force but with faith. And oh, the beauty of a life entrusted to that wind. It doesn't move in straight lines. It doesn't always explain itself, but it moves with wisdom, with compassion, with infinite timing. And in that movement, it sculpts you not into what the world expects, but into what your soul has always been. You begin to feel less like a seeker and more like a vessel, less like someone searching and more like someone surrendering to be found. You no longer push to manifest, you open to receive. And that receiving is not a passive act. It is the most courageous thing you will ever do, to be open, to be soft, to be guided by something larger than logic and kinder than fear. For in this sacred openness, you remember, it is not your job to chase, It is your role to become, not to become worthy, not to become more, but to become aligned with the unspoken truth that everything conspires in your favor when you no longer insist that it follow your script. Release the script, release the performance, release the idea that success is measured in outcomes, and start feeling the truth that success is alignment with your own spirit. That is the real prosperity. Not in what arrives, but in how deeply you trust before it does. Not in what is built, but in what is remembered while you wait. And as you walk through this life with that remembrance, you become unshakable, not because you are invulnerable, but because you are surrendered. Because your foundation is not built on circumstances, but on consciousness. Not on outcomes, but on oneness. And in that oneness, beloved, you are never alone. You are carried. You are held. You are guided not by what you understand, but by what you feel when you stop trying to understand. This is the divine choreography. And your only part is to show up in love and let the universe handle the how. And so the path unfolds not by force of will, but by the quiet unfolding of your willingness to trust. The sky does not reveal the entire journey to the sun. It opens moment by moment, cloud by cloud, ray by ray. And just like the sky, your life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a canvas that reveals its beauty only when you stop trying to paint the whole picture in one stroke. The soul does not need deadlines. It needs depth. It needs space to breathe, to listen, to feel its way forward without the pressure of performance. Because beneath all your goals, all your striving, all your questions about timing and direction, there is something even more important, awakening a relationship with the divine that no outcome could replace. You are learning the art of sacred partnership, not just with people, but with life itself. It is not a transactional relationship, it is a devotional one. You are not bartering with the universe, you are becoming one with it. And in that oneness, something extraordinary begins to happen. Life stops feeling like a struggle to overcome and starts feeling like a conversation. A whispering dialogue between your heart and the heart of the universe. Every intuition becomes a message. Every longing becomes a doorway. Every silence becomes a sanctuary where divine instruction pours in without words. You no longer ask, what should I do? But instead, who am I being? Because the answer is always found not in action alone, but in embodiment. Be the peace before peace arrives. Be the love before it is returned. Be the abundance before it is visible. And when you become it, truly become it, the need to control how it comes dissolves. You realize that what you're attracting is not being summoned by force, but by frequency. This is the shift, from manipulation to magnetism, from needing life to obey you, to dancing with it as an equal, from resisting the flow to riding it with reverence. And the more you trust, the more the signs begin to multiply, not because the universe wasn't speaking before, but because now you are finally listening. You're no longer looking for neon answers. You're paying attention to the whisper of a leaf falling at your feet, the way a stranger's kindness mirrors your prayer, the perfect timing of a song that reminds you you're not alone. And that, dear soul, is not coincidence. It is confirmation. It is the echo of the divine saying, you are on the path. Keep walking. I've got the how. Let that truth settle into your bones. Let it become your inner compass when the world feels uncertain. You don't need a forecast when you are grounded in faith. You don't need clarity in the sky when you've cultivated stillness in your soul. And from that stillness, watch how life begins to respond, not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped pushing entirely. You let go of the reins and let the current carry you not into chaos, but into coherence with the rhythm that formed you. This is not abandonment of responsibility. It is the assumption of your highest responsibility, to be in harmony with the source from which all things arise, to know that you are not the doer, but the doorway. And through that doorway, everything flows. Not always according to your plan, but always according to your purpose. So trust this flow, sacred traveler. Let your life be a living prayer, not of performance, but of presence. Let your breath be your agreement with life. Let your heart be your offering. And let the mystery unfold as it always has, not on your schedule, but in your soul's divine timing. Because the universe is not waiting for your control. It is waiting for your surrender. And when you finally give it, not just with your words, but with your being, you will find yourself not at the destination you imagined, but at the exact place your spirit has always longed to be. Whole, held, home, and so you walk not with haste, but with holiness. not because the road is clear, but because your heart is finally soft enough to be guided without needing to know what's next. You are no longer the stormer of gates, you are the keeper of peace. And in this peace, your life becomes a silent revolution, not of action, but of essence. You are beginning to realize that you do not create reality by wrestling with it, but by resonating with it, by becoming the energy you wish to receive. By living in harmony with the unseen patterns that govern the stars in your soul alike, you no longer seek to bend life to your will. You seek to bend inward to the will of life. And here, where surrender becomes strength, you begin to move differently. You speak with more silence between your words. You love with less fear wrapped around your giving. You pray not with pleading, but with presence. Because now you know that you are not being tested, you are being trusted. Trusted to carry the light within you without explanation or applause. This is the quiet power that moves mountains, not because it fights them, but because it no longer sees them as obstacles. It sees them as teachers. It knows that every delay is not denial, but divine redirection. Every not yet is a seed gestating in the dark. Every no is preparing you for a greater yes that only grace can author. And when your ego mourns what it cannot control, your soul rejoices because it knows that the relinquishing of control is the invitation for miracles. So keep walking, keep breathing, keep trusting, even when nothing makes sense. Especially then, because it is in the darkness of unknowing that the stars of divine guidance shine the brightest. Do not fear the quiet chapters. They are where the foundations of your next becoming are poured. Do not rush the process. You are not behind. The river of life has no schedule, only sacred flow. You are not here to earn your place. You are here to embody your place. And when you do, when you surrender your resistance, your urgency, your demand for clarity, what arrives is not what you imagined. It is better, it is truer, it is authored not by fear, but by love. And that love has never forgotten you. It never required your perfection. It only waited for your permission. The moment you said, "I don't need to know how," the universe replied, "Now you're ready to receive. And receive you shall not because you forced it, but because you became it. Because you finally stepped out of the way and let the infinite take the lead." And so, beloved soul, this is the sacred turning point. The moment where the story stops being about what you do and starts being about who you are. Not the mask, not the plan, but the presence, the light. The open vessel through which the music of the universe can now play its most beautiful song. This is the end of the search. This is the beginning of trust. This is the moment you let the universe handle the how. And this is the freedom you have always been seeking. And now that you have arrived at this threshold, not a finish line, but a sacred opening, you are invited to go even deeper, deeper than belief, deeper than hope, into the holy ground of knowing. Not the knowing of the mind, which is built on facts and forecasts, but the knowing of the soul, which needs no evidence, no outcome, no permission. It simply knows because it is already one with the source. This knowing lives in the quiet places where the world forgets to look. It lives in the breath you didn't try to take but were given anyway. In the tears you shed when you realized you no longer had to perform. In the peace that enters the room, not because you achieved something, but because you released something. The soul has always known that trying to orchestrate every detail was never your job. It waited patiently for the moment when your grip would loosen and your trust would rise like incense into the heavens. This is the beauty of letting the universe handle the how, not as a tactic, but as a transformation. You are not trading in one set of burdens for another. You are unburdening completely. You are laying down the armor of strategy, the weight of timelines, the heavy cloak of needing to know, and in their place, you pick up something lighter than air faith. Pure, untethered, unconditional faith. The kind that doesn't ask, is it working, but says, it already island. And this is not naivety. This is clarity. This is not escaping life, it is entering it fully for the first time. Because until now, you were dancing on the surface, skipping like a stone across the waters of potential. But the moment you surrendered control, you sank into the depths. You touched the eternal. You stopped trying to swim and let yourself be held. Held not by fate, but by intention, not by chance, but by design. You are not the result of random events. You are a soul with a curriculum, a sacred assignment, a divine unfolding that cannot be rushed and does not need to be deciphered, only received. The mind may still try to interrupt, but what if it doesn't happen? What if it all falls apart? And to that the soul smiles, because the soul knows that the only thing that can fall apart is the illusion, the false certainty, the rigid structure of plans born from fear. What remains, what endures, is the truth. And truth never needs to be protected. It only needs to be lived. And so you walk on not to chase, but to cherish. Each step now is not a calculation, but a communion. Each moment is not a checkpoint, but a cathedral. You begin to speak with less noise and more weight. You begin to show up not to convince, but to connect. You begin to realize that your vibration is your message. Your peace is your power. Your very presence is your prayer. You no longer beg life to deliver. You bless it as an island. And in that blessing, something sacred occurs. Life begins to mirror your inner posture. The more you lean back into trust, the more the universe leans in to meet you. The more you soften, the more the path unfolds, without maps, without force, without strength. Not because you made it happen, but because you finally allowed it. This is what happens when you step into your divine alignment. Doors open because your energy is no longer locked in resistance. People appear because your presence has become magnetic. Ideas flow because your mind is no longer congested with fear. You are not waiting for life to bless you. You are realizing that you are the blessing. You are the answered prayer of 1,000 unseen forces. You are the flowering of generations of wisdom, love, and unseen hands guiding you to this very breath. There is nothing missing. There is only the unfolding of what already island. And now, each day becomes less about what you do and more about how you be. Can you be still in the chaos? Can you be love in the unknown? Can you be trust when the outcome is hidden? These are the true markers of growth, not the trophies, not the check boxes, but the quiet resilience of a heart that is surrendered to the sacred mystery. And mystery is not the absence of meaning, it is the abundance of it. It is the vastness that reminds you. You do not need to be God. You only need to remember that God is within you. You do not need to have the answers. You only need to ask the right questions. Am I open? Am I aligned? Am I present? Because when you are all three, the how takes care of itself. You are the soil. The divine is the seed. Trust the roots even when you cannot see the fruit. Trust the process even when the harvest feels far. And so this becomes your quiet revolution, not to control, not to predict, but to co-create, to walk with the universe as a beloved partner, not a battlefield commander, to let your life become an open field where miracles are not manufactured but magnetized. Let your prayers no longer be desperate cries for intervention, but gentle invitations to be guided. Let your actions no longer be compulsions born from fear, but expressions of your devotion to the unseen rhythm that always knows what you need even when you don't. And when fear rises, and it will welcome it, do not resist it. Let it come like a wave, let it crash, let it teach you. And then let it return to the sea from which it came, leaving you washed clean in its wake. You are not the fear. You are the witness. You are not the doubt. You are the doorway. And through that doorway flows grace. So rest, dear soul, not in exhaustion, but in reverence. Rest in the knowing that you are not behind, you are not lost, you are not broken. You are simply being prepared, refined, aligned. You are not late. You are right on time for the miracle you stopped trying to manufacture and started allowing. This is the new path, the way of trust, the way of truth. And it begins every time you whisper to life with your breath, your being, your unspoken agreement. I will hold the vision, and I will let the universe handle the how. You are home now. And home is sacred ground. There is a silence within you that predates your first breath. It is not made of sound, nor time, nor memory. It is made of presence. Eternal, unmoving, radiant. And in that silence lives the truth you have spent lifetimes forgetting, only so you might have the holy joy of remembering. That truth is this: God is love, and you, dear soul, are an expression of that. Not a fragment, not a shadow, not a merry echo, but a living, breathing embodiment of divine love wrapped in skin, pulsing through a heart, seeing through eyes, and longing through a soul. You are not separate from the source. You are a wave in the ocean of it, rising for a moment to dance in form before returning again to the infinite. We were never sent here to earn love, but to extend it. Never sent to find God, but to realize that we were never apart. The trees know this. The wind does not doubt its place. The stars do not ask for permission to shine. And yet we in our humanness forget. We begin to believe we are the roles we play. We think we are the name we answer to, the story we survive, the mask we wear to be accepted. But these are garments, temporary, worn and eventually set down. You are not the role. You are the awareness behind it. You are not the body. You are the breath that animates it. You are not the seeker. You are that which is sought. The ego, frightened of its impermanence, will whisper that you must prove yourself. It will say love is something earned with perfection, with effort, with sacrifice. But love that must be earned is not love, it is performance. And performance exhausts the soul. The truth needs no costume, no applause, no approval. It's simply island. When Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was reminding us of something the mind cannot grasp, but the heart has always known, that God is not a being far away, but a presence so intimate it breathes you, so close it can never leave, so gentle it waits until you are ready to feel it again. And what is that presence? It is love. Not the kind wrapped in conditions, not the kind traded for obedience or behavior, but love without edge, without ending, without expectation. The love that spun galaxies and still has time to cradle your heartbeat. You are not on a journey to become worthy of this love. You are on a journey to surrender to the truth that you already are it. Let us walk deeper now. Let us shed what was never ours, the guilt, the shame, the fear inherited from generations who forgot their light. You do not carry their burden by keeping it. You honor their story by transcending it. The pain you have felt was never punishment. It was the teacher. The initiation, the calling card of your awakening. Each wound was a crack through which the light could whisper, you are more than this, and so you are. Pause, breathe, and feel the ancient truth that lives beneath the noise of your life. You are love, expressing itself as you. You were not born to fix the world. You were born to love it, to forgive it, to hold it as it is, even while you anchor the truth of what it can become. You were not born to earn your place. You are the place, the temple, the altar, the holy space where the divine bows inward. The Tao teaches us that the greatest power is like water, soft, yielding yet unstoppable. And so is love. And so are you when you remember who you are. There is no force in softness. No need to push when you are in harmony. You do not have to change the world. You only have to change the frequency you offer it. Keep listening, beloved soul. The voice within you that speaks without words is not your imagination. It is your inheritance. It is the current of source guiding you not toward perfection, but toward presence, toward remembering, not reaching. God does not demand from you. God flows through you. As kindness, as compassion, as the warmth you offer a stranger without knowing why. That is the divine, moving without label, unencumbered by dogma, pulsing through the ordinary moments as something extraordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are, and always have been, held by something vast and ancient and real. Something that asks only this: be still long enough to feel me, trust deeply enough to let me move through you, and love fully enough to know that I am what you are. Let this not be a teaching you admire. Let it be a truth you live. And so the breath continues like an eternal tide rising in the sanctuary of your chest. You are not breathing alone. Every inhale is shared with the stars. Every exhale is a whisper from the divine. You are not merely existing. You are communing, participating in a dance choreographed not by effort but by grace. And grace, beloved, is your natural state, not a reward bestowed for obedience. It is what you are made of when all else is stripped away. There is no distance between you and God. That was a story told by fear. That was a lie whispered by the mind addicted to separation. But the heart is always known. It knows that when your hands tremble in prayer or when tears silently fall without explanation, it is not emptiness that you feel. It is fullness so vast your body can barely contain it. It is God rising within you, not arriving from elsewhere. The mind seeks understanding, the soul seeks reunion, and in that reunion there are no questions, only knowing. Not the kind that shouts at certainty, but the quiet kind that needs no defense. the kind that walks through chaos unshaken because it remembers the stillness before the storm and it knows that stillness lives within. Let this remembrance guide you now. Let it melt the hard edges of the life you've been told to fight for. You were not sent here to struggle your way into holiness. You were sent here to awaken to the holiness that was never missing. And holiness does not look like perfection. It looks like presence. It looks like forgiving yourself for not knowing. It looks like holding space for your sorrow without trying to rush its release. It looks like waking up on a broken morning and still choosing to love anyway, not because you feel strong, but because love is what you are. Love is not a feeling. It is your being. And you cannot lose what you are. You can forget it. You can bury it beneath layers of shoulds and shame, but it never leaves. It never abandons you. Even in your darkest night, it waits, patient, still, glowing softly at the center of your being like a candle in a cave. And perhaps you have asked, why don't I feel it? Because, dear soul, love does not force its way in. It waits for your surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of resistance. The sacred undoing of all that is not you. The willing release of the masks you've worn to feel safe. The moment you stop trying to be lovable and begin allowing yourself to be loved, everything shifts. The people who cannot meet you may drift away. The illusions may crumble, but what remains will be real. And what is real is enough. You were never meant to chase what you are. Like a flame searching for heat, the search itself is the veil. You are not here to earn access to God. You are here to unveil the God that you carry like breath, silent, unseen, but essential to your being. Do you see now? You are not your striving. You are not your healing journey. You are the space within which the healing happens. You are not the story. You are the silence that surrounds it. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that watches. And that awareness is sacred. It is not limited by form or time or fate. It was here before you had a name. It will remain when the name is gone. That is where God lives, in the infinite space of your true self, untouched by circumstance, unscarred by experience. So be kind to your mind when it forgets. Be gentle with your heart when it aches. They are only trying to return to what they already are. And in that return, there is no need to rush. There is only the invitation to soften. Softness is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. The mountain does not tremble at the wind because it is rooted. And you too can root yourself not in identity, but in essence. Not in belief, but in being. When you stand in your being, the world may swirl around you, but you no longer swirl with it. You remain silent, still, enough. This is the invitation. Not to do more, not to fix yourself, but to remember, to finally remember that you are the breath of God made visible. You are not on the outside of heaven trying to get in. You are the sky it stretches across. You are the ground it touches. You are the love it radiates. And so the journey continues, not forward but inward, not outward into answers but inward into awareness. With every breath, a new beginning. With every silence, a new revelation. And in this sacred unfolding, something ancient stirs within you, older than time, more intimate than thought. It does not arrive with thunder or spectacle, but with the softness of a truth too vast to be spoken. You do not grasp it, you allow it. It emerges like dawn, inevitable, gradual, quietly miraculous. And as it rises, you begin to see not with the eyes in your head, but with the eyes of your soul. Those eyes see beyond appearance, beyond form. They see essence. They see God in everything, in the face of a stranger, in the rhythm of the ocean, in the trembling of your own hands as you touch what is real. God is not hiding. God is not waiting. God is simply being and inviting you to be the same. You are not meant to reach enlightenment. You are meant to dissolve the belief that you are apart from it. Enlightenment is not a peak to climb. It is the moment you sit down, let go, and become what you already are. It is not a reward for the pure. It is the recognition that you were never impure. No act of love is ever wasted. Every moment you choose gentleness over judgment, compassion over control, presence over projection, you are remembering. You are tuning your life to the frequency of God, which is not found in temples of stone, but in the stillness of this very breath, this very moment, this trembling now. There are no ordinary moments. Every second is saturated with divinity. The laugh of a child is not just sound, it is evidence. The rustle of leaves is not just nature, it is God's voice in motion. And your pain, yes, even your pain, is not a mistake. It is the sacred fire that burns away illusion, making space for something real. Do not run from the fire, walk into it. Let it purify, not punish. Let it return you to what cannot be burned. The soul does not fear the flame, it knows it is the light behind it. There is nothing to be ashamed of in your journey. Every fall was a sacred descent into deeper awareness. Every time you were cracked open, you made room for more light. You are not broken, you are breaking free. And this breaking is not the end. It is the blooming, the blossoming of a being who has finally grown tired of pretending, of striving, of trying to win a game no one was meant to play. You are not here to win. You are here to awaken, to remember your own infinite worth, not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. And what you are is love in motion, spirit in form, God in expression. You do not need to find the divine plan. You are the divine plan. Not the plan for perfection or for achievement, but for embodiment, for walking this earth as a living prayer, for becoming the bridge between heaven and the human heart. This is why your presence matters. This is why your life is sacred. Not because it meets a standard, but because it is an unrepeatable expression of the infinite. There is not, and never will be, another you. Not in this exact body, not in this exact breath, not with this exact blend of laughter and longing for home. And oh, how you have longed. You have looked for something eternal in things that perish. You have searched for unconditional love in places that offered it only in exchange. But that ache, that hunger, that yearning was never wrong. It was the compass pointing home, not to a place, but to a state of being, to the sanctuary within you that needs no walls, no words, no validation, only remembrance. So remember now. Remember not with your mind, but with your being. Lay down your need to understand and let yourself feel. Feel what has always been waiting to be felt, the softness beneath your armor, the light behind your eyes, the presence that holds you even when no one else does. You are not defined by what has happened to you. You are not the echo of your pain. You are the space in which healing is possible, the witness to the rising and the falling, the love that remains when all else dissolves. And that love does not speak loudly. It hums, it pulses, it waits patiently at the threshold of your awareness until you are ready to open the door and say yes. Yes to presence, yes to wholeness, yes to a life not ruled by fear, but rooted in truth. Truth that says you are not separate. Truth that says you are not lacking. Truth that says you are not forgotten. You are seen, you are loved, you are held. Not because you've earned it, but because that love is the substance of your being. To deny it is to starve your soul. To accept it is to finally come alive. And when you come alive, the world no longer has to change for you to be free. You become the change. You become the stillness in the storm, the peace in the noise. The light that does not demand darkness disappear but shines anyway. Then let us continue deeper still into the boundless sanctuary of your being. For every breath you take now is not just air, it is a sacred permission slip, an invitation to dissolve the walls built by fear and return, not to a past version of yourself, but to the untouched essence that never left. The you that never doubted, never competed, never needed to be chosen because it knew it was the choosing itself. There is a sacred rhythm beneath the distractions of life, a melody that doesn't play through speakers or words, but through the pulse of existence itself. When you slow enough to feel it, not with your ears, but with your awareness, you will know this is the song of the soul. It is not hurried, it is not harsh, it is not seeking an audience. It simply is, flowing with the quiet confidence of truth that has never been shaken, even when you were. You do not need to light a candle to be holy. You do not need to recite the perfect prayer to be heard. The moment you sit in stillness, without resistance or performance, the divine knows your name, not the one spoken by others, but the one vibrated by your soul before sound ever existed. And in that stillness, you come to see that there is nothing you must do to become divine. You were born clothed in it. Your laughter, your tears, your sacred confusion, all of it is an extension of that divine essence playing its way through time. God does not demand a polished version of you. God asks only for the real one, the one who stumbles, the one who wonders, the one who dares to feel. The path is not linear. nor should it be. Awakening is not a staircase, it is a spiral, drawing you again and again back to the same truths, not to repeat them, but to recognize them more deeply. Each time you return, it is not because you failed, it is because your soul is ready to hear the same song with new ears. There will be days when the light feels distant, when the silence inside feels like absence, not presence. But even then, especially then, you are not alone. For the divine does not shout. In the noise, it waits in the quiet. It is the unseen hand on your back as you walk into the unknown. It is the calm beneath the quake. It is the breath you didn't know you were holding and the exhale that finally sets you free. You were never asked to be fearless. You were asked to be faithful, to trust the invisible thread pulling you forward, even when the path vanishes beneath your feet. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the willingness to walk anyway, to open your heart even as it trembles, to love without condition when every wound says to guard. In that trust, something miraculous happens. Your life begins to unfold, not according to your plans, but according to your truth. And your truth knows things the mind cannot explain. It knows when to rest. It knows when to let go. It knows that what is real does not require clinging, it requires allowing. When you stop gripping life, you begin to feel it, not as a list of tasks to conquer, but as a sacred current that moves through you and with you. No longer a battle, but a river. No longer a test, but a dance. No longer a search, but a remembering. And in that remembering, you soften, not because you are fragile, but because you are rooted. Not because you no longer care, but because you care in a way that no longer needs to control. You discover that peace is not the result of everything going your way. It is the stillness that remains when you let go of needing it to. So walk gently now, not because the world is fragile, but because your awareness of its sacredness has deepened. Speak slowly, not because you doubt, but because every word now carries a vibration of your soul's remembering. Look into the eyes of another and recognize yourself, not the surface self, but the self beneath identity, beneath separation, beneath time. This is the new way of being, not performative, but present. Not impressive, but impactful. Not in what you do, but in how you be. And how you be is how God moves through you. There comes a moment, often wrapped in the ordinariness of a sunrise or the silence between thoughts, when you realize that nothing needs to change for everything to change. That moment is not the result of effort, but of surrender, not a giving up, but a giving in to the truth that has been waiting patiently beneath every desire, every wound, every longing. And that truth is this: you were never separate from what you seek. Not for a moment, not in your deepest sorrow, not in your greatest fear. The connection was never broken, only forgotten, like clouds mistaking themselves for the sky. But the sky remains vast and untouched, even as the storm rages through. So too does your divine essence remain undiminished by your past, unshaken by your doubts, unaffected by how long it has taken you to remember. Eternity is not in a rush. Love is not keeping score. The divine is not waiting at the end of your transformation. It is pulsing in every breath of your becoming. When you let go of becoming someone and simply allow yourself to be what you are, you do not diminish, you radiate. You do not lose direction, you come into alignment. You stop asking life to validate you because you realize you are the validation. There is no higher authority than your own inner knowing. No scripture more sacred than your own soul's whisper. No temple holier than the moment you close your eyes, place a hand on your heart, and feel the presence that needs no name. And yes, you will still fall. You will forget. You will doubt. But now you will return quicker. Not because the path is easier, but because the resistance is gone. You stop fighting yourself. You stop judging the process. You allow each wave to pass without attaching to it, knowing the ocean beneath is still you. And in that ocean lives a quiet power, a power not born from control, but from communion, not from force, but from flow. You become like the moon, effortless in its pull, needed by none, yet illuminating all. You become like the seed, trusting the darkness, knowing that even unseen, it is still becoming something holy. This is the way of divine remembrance. It does not shout, it sings. It does not demand, it invites. It does not imprison you in ideals, it liberates you into essence. And in that liberation, something sacred returns to your eyes, a softness, a clarity, a deep knowing that says, I remember who I am, and in that remembrance, I see who you are too. Said, the more you remember yourself as an expression of God's love, the more the world around you softens, not because it changes, but because your gaze no longer demands it to be different. Your love no longer waits for worthiness. Your presence no longer clings to outcomes. You have touched eternity, and it has changed how you walk. You begin to bless everything, not with words, but with awareness. You bless the messiness, the uncertainty, the unspoken prayers. You bless the ones who cannot yet see, because you remember what it was like to be blind. And in your remembering, you become the mirror that helps others remember too, not by preaching, but by being. There is no sermon more powerful than a soul at peace, no doctrine more healing than a presence rooted in love. You become the answer you were always looking for, not in theory, but in embodiment. And so you walk, not to escape life, but to meet it deeply. You speak not to be heard, but to share the vibration of your truth. You love not to fill a void, but to express what you are, what you have always been. The journey is no longer about becoming better. It is about becoming real, becoming whole, becoming home. And home is not a destination. It is the place within you that never stopped loving. You are not who you were when this remembering began, not because you added anything new, but because you dropped what was never yours. You stopped carrying the weight of worthiness, the armor of expectations, the veil of pretending, and what is left is the real you. The ancient, luminous, formless presence that has always been silently watching, patiently waiting, endlessly loving, you see now with new eyes, not because the world has changed, but because you have become the change. The mirror is clean, the fog is lifted, and what you see when you look deeply is not the brokenness of the world, but its aching beauty, its holy becoming, its constant, sacred, imperfect unfolding. You begin to honor your scars, not as flaws, but as fingerprints of your journey. You begin to thank the pain, not because it was right, but because it awakened what comfort could not. You begin to see that even the silence was speaking, even the detours were direction, even the endings were beginnings dressed in disguise. And now, from this place of stillness, this inner altar where no one else needs to approve, what do you see? You see the face of God in everything, in your reflection, in a stranger's kindness, in the rhythm of your own breath. You see that love was never something you needed to find. It was what you were made of. It was your origin. It is your destination. And it is your every step along the way. So now you rise, not as someone who has completed a journey, but as someone who has merged with it. There is no more division between the seeker and the sought. You are no longer walking toward the light. You are the light walking, you are the love unfolding, you are the presence blooming into form with every sacred breath. There is no final act here, only a continual becoming, a never-ending unfolding of divine remembrance. You do not close this chapter, you live it, you breathe it, you become it. And in becoming it, you become the invitation for others to remember too. You do not need a title, you do not need a stage. Your life is the teaching, your stillness is the sermon, your kindness is the scripture, your presence is the prayer. And so, beloved soul, as you leave these words, may you never leave this truth. You are not separate. You are not lacking. You are not lost. You are the divine expressing itself in human form. God is love. And you are an expression of that. Not someday, not after healing, not once you've done enough. Now, always, already, you are home, you are whole, you are holy, and you are free.